Hello, my name is Helen Rhodes, and today I am presenting on the topic of international subsidies and U.S. subsidies to American farmers. This presentation is an assignment for my International Business Law class at National American University. A subsidy is a type of financial aid or support given to a specific domestic industry or sector by the government with the goal of promoting economic or social policy. In order to qualify as a subsidy, it must be a financial contribution from the government that provides a benefit that is not otherwise available to the marketplace, and the receiver is better off by receiving it. There are various types of government subsidies given to an industry. These include giving money or grants, making loans at interest rates which are lower than rates available to the general public, giving tax credits or not collecting taxes at all, providing investment monies that are inconsistent with normal practices of private investment, offering free resources such as electricity or water, or buying supplies from companies at a higher price than offered in the public marketplace. Subsidies are regulated by the General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade Agreement of 1947, the 1994 World Trade Organization Agreement on Subsidies and Countervailing Measures, and by national laws and regulations. The WTO allows non-specific subsidies. The WTO prohibits specific subsidies which are given to a specific company or select industry or group of industries or to companies located in a select region of a country. These are classified as either prohibited or actionable subsidies. Prohibited subsidies are banned altogether. These pertain to what are called export subsidies and import substitution subsidies. An export subsidy is a grant or tax credit given to domestic companies when they export goods or services outside of the domestic country and are considered specific because they target exporters. An import substitution subsidy would be monies given to a company by the government which favors the receiver using a domestic product over an imported product. Actionable subsidies are not automatically prohibited, but because they may have an adverse effect, may still be actionable. Actionable subsidies may be considered harmful to the domestic producer of a like product in the complaining country, violate a trade agreement, or show prejudice to the complaining country's interests. Actionable subsidies need also to have been the result of a significant price undercutting, price suppression, or lost sales in the same market. There are two primary farming trends that we see today in the United States. The first trend is a decrease in the number of farm and farm workers. In general, the number of U.S. farmers has declined during the 20th century. In 1900, about 40% of the U.S. labor force worked on farms, and by the end of the 1900s, that percentage fell to less than 2%. The second trend is that farmers are exporting more products and Americans are buying more imported foods. Since World War II, the United States exports more agricultural products than it imports. Americans consume more food grown outside of the United States. By the year 2000, the import percentage of food consumed by Americans was 11%, and by 2002, that number increased to 13% in comparison to 1981, where less than 8% of food consumed by Americans was imported. The reason for the decrease of American farmers and increase of imported food items in the United States can be viewed as both economic and political. Relative to farming in the rest of world nations, U.S. farmers are the least efficient and highest cost producers. This can be attributed to the high cost of land, labor, and U.S. environmental regulations. Because of this, most foods can be imported from poor nations developed less expensively. Some would argue that the United States could benefit politically from relying less on U.S. farmers and relying more on rest of world countries for their food production. In doing so, this could increase developing nations' incomes by $20 billion a year and promote goodwill globally between the United States and rest of world countries. According to the U.S. Government Accountability Office, agricultural subsidies and insurance cost U.S. taxpayers about $20 billion annually. Opponents of these subsidies believe the most of that money goes to millionaire farmers and large agribusiness and not the small family farms. They cite that most farmers receiving subsidies have an income much larger than the average taxpayer. The bulk of subsidies go to farmers who raise corn, cotton, rice, peanuts, soybeans, and wheat, and the farmer's worth on average is between $6 and $10 million. Opponents to subsidies also say that most farmers are capable of managing price fluctuations and production risks, and farming is not as risky as people say it is. They state that less than 1% of farms go out of business each year, and the main causes are actually divorce, major illness, and poor management. Additionally, farmers do not require price stabilization because most farmers are financially able to handle production risks. Subsidies also prevent farmers from operating more efficiently by using new and innovative technologies because there is no incentive when they are guaranteed profits by the government. In today's modern society, most people are removed from agriculture. With only a small percentage of Americans farming, most do not understand food production and the risks associated with it. Government subsidies protect the public from food shortages and high food prices. This is especially important when considering the world's population is projected to increase from 7 billion to 11 billion people by the year 2100. Government subsidies keep farming profitable and stable and even preserve resources in case of future need of food. In a country where land is a precious resource and considered a premium, it is important to produce food more efficiently on less acreage. Farming subsidies encourage increased productivity by using modern farming methods and materials which otherwise would not be available to farmers because of the financial risk. To qualify for subsidies, farmers must agree to use erosion-limiting techniques. This has helped reduce soil erosion rates by 40% since 1985. While large farms do receive most of the subsidies, proponents state that they should because they produce the bulk of the food. Large, efficient farms benefit society because they are able to produce food at a much lower cost. While the U.S. Farm Subsidy Program is not perfect, it does use incentives to provide food for the world and ensure fairness and equity in competing against foreign countries. In conclusion, I believe subsidies provided by the U.S. government to American farmers are beneficial in providing a greater amount of food at a lower price. This allows U.S. farmers to remain in business and gives them a chance to fairly compete against foreign country producers. In this way, American farmers can meet the needs of the poor and hungry by supplying food not only in America, but globally. Thank you for listening, and I hope you have learned about subsidies from my presentation today. Have a great day.